Richard Tice is here. Very good morning to you, Richard.
Very good morning to you, Mike.
I make no apology for what I just said. I know that there will be people out there going, oh my God, what a terrible, awful, bigoted thing to say. But I think it's time we started to admit and started to say that actually immigration has ruined this country.
Well, look, the reality is even the chair of the Office for Budget Responsibility has admitted that economically, on a per-head basis, it hasn't helped the economy, the country, over the last 15 years or so. And that was, of course, one of the great lies. As you said, we were told that immigration was good for the economy, and we didn't. We've ended up
We're still being told that.
And we're still being told that. And the truth is, it is a lie. And the reality is, we've got over 5 million people of British citizens who are now on out-of-work benefits, whilst big business and the Westminster Wallies keep saying that we should be bringing in cheap, low-skilled labour from overseas. And that's on the basis of lawful immigration, leaving aside what we all know is a completely bust, out-of-control, illegal immigration. And look, if you're going to, if you've got genuine skill shortages and you want to welcome appropriate numbers to fill those skill shortages whilst you train your own, that's one thing. And those people can then be properly, in a sense, absorbed into the system and adopt and come into our culture and be part of that and want to be a part of that. But the reality is we've seen something completely different.
Yeah. Well, the story that we got yesterday, which came in after this show ended, after 13 years of Tory government, the asylum system is broken. £1.54 billion has been shelled out on asylum seekers' hotels under Rishi Sunak's watch. £7 million a day.
Yeah, I mean,
it's ridiculous.
It's absurd, and we've all been talking about it. The government know it's absurd, which is why Rishi Sunak is panicking. Every year they rush through a bill. Every year it makes no difference whatsoever. What's extraordinary is the complete collapse of the Home Office on this, their inability to process the backlog, contrary to what Rishi Sunak had announced at the beginning of the year. The backlog is growing, and here we see today news that he's going to offer an effective amnesty in order to slash the size of the backlog.
And we've got, what, 170,000 people?
Got 170,000 people, and it looks as though tens and tens of thousands are going to be just literally waved through without even so much as an interview into our system.
We don't know who these people are, do we?
The truth is, we don't know who these people are, and we don't really know what they may, what their background is. And I just think this will be completely unacceptable to the British people. And when they might say, I said this a few weeks ago, when the first announcement was made about 12,000 being sort of waved through, I said, this is the thin end of the wedge. And the only way he will get the backlog down is literally just waving everybody through. And then at the end of the year, he'll say, oh, hurrah, aren't I a clever chap with my ministers and the Home Office.
Will all these people, if say...
I'll tell you what it means,
Say he waves 170,000 through, are they all going to go and get jobs? Are they all going to start paying tax? What's going to happen to them?
Well, then they're entitled to stay and to get jobs. They get national insurance numbers, and if you get a job then of a certain salary, then yes, you'll be paying tax. But what it will do is act as a magnet for more people to come here illegally, because they'll say, we then join the next wave, they won't be able to process us, we'll go through all of the appeals, and then eventually we'll get an amnesty. And so it will go on. You've seen it elsewhere. If you set a precedent like this, then the situation will get far, far worse. And that's not what the British people want.
And it was only a week ago that you were down in Pimlico interviewing that guy from Iraq who said that he wasn't too happy with the Wi-Fi, wasn't too happy with the bathroom situation, thought the hotel that he was living in was a bit overcrowded.
And look, that video upset a lot of people. They said that I was exploiting and manipulative.
Rubbish.
Let me tell you, the people who are exploiting and manipulating the British people are many of these economic migrants. These people are not telling the truth, and the lefty human rights lawyers who are making off like bandits.
They're all making money.
They're making huge sums of money. They're the people exploiting and manipulating the system, and our generous hospitality is being used and abused. And I think the vast majority of the British people are saying this is completely unacceptable.
Yeah. And what happened in France yesterday, and I know there will be people who say, oh, you can't, tar everyone with the same brush. Well, no, you can't. But one of the reasons why I've been consistently saying we must know who these people are when they come to this country is that there's nothing really to stop that guy who committed that horrible crime yesterday, stabbing children at the age of 3 in their prams and their pushchairs. I mean, absolutely barbaric conditions that he was working under. There's nothing to stop him jumping on a train train on the French railway system, coming to Calais, jumping on a dinghy, and suddenly he's in Bedford. You know,
look,
and we don't know who he is. We don't know what he's done. We don't know what the state of his mental health is. It's unbelievable.
It's an absolute. It's one of the most horrific things that I suspect any of us have ever heard. If you've seen the video, it's truly, truly shocking. And he must have serious mental health issues because
I get that.
Nobody was rational. But look, the reality is, of course, he's moved from Sweden to France because of freedom of movement, and thank God we're out of that system. Yeah, that's what I say.
I was listening to another radio station that I never mentioned because they're so appallingly left-wing. It's embarrassing. They were actually saying yesterday, oh well, you know, he might have been involved in a war. He might have been scarred mentally by what happened in that war. You know, we have to remember that these people are humans. And I'm like, you're basically defending somebody who was stabbed, possibly killed some 3-year-olds.
Let's just remind ourselves of this statistic. France only accepts 18% of its asylum applications, 1/8, whereas our hopeless Home Office, in the very few applications that it does actually process, we accept 75%, even though they've all come from France.
I was going to say, we're likely to be the other way around, like 82%. Right?
So exactly. So the point is, because France is much tougher on it, you understand why more and more people are coming here. And we have to stop this. We have to have secure borders. The first role of government is to protect the safety and security of the British citizens. And this government
and
of the nation has patently and is woefully, incompetently failing at that simple premier task.
And let's go the full hog here, and let's admit that the reason this has all happened is because of Angela Merkel, because of the European Union, because of their ludicrous decision years and years ago to say to anyone from Syria, please do come to our country and seek refuge.
I'm not.
Well, guess what?
No,
now your children are being stabbed to death.
I'm not. I tell you why I don't accept that is because we're in charge of our own country. This government is in charge of our security. They can protect our borders. So whatever happens in Europe, we should be in control of our own sovereignty, our borders, and our border force needs to check everybody coming in, and those who come in illegally should be returned immediately. That's the law. If you apply it, no ifs, no buts, you'll protect the British citizens.
I don't understand why they can't take them off the boats that they come in on, having been rescued by the RNLI or by Border Force from whichever part of the channel they're in, put them on a bus. Now, instead of taking them on that bus to a London hotel or an Essex hotel or a hotel in Derbyshire, take them straight back to Dover, put them on a ferry and send them back to France. Why can't we do that?
Before the Tories came into power 13 years ago, actually, we were deporting almost 50,000 a year, and they were being processed and assessed and appeals done within a matter of weeks, not years, like the bloke that I interviewed who's been here 2 years in a hotel in Ilford. But the irony of it, I mean, the absolute irony is that you've got the Eurozone where now they are recognising they've got a major problem, and guess what? They're looking to adopt the Rwanda scheme. Germany is trying to propose to Brussels that the whole of the EU should adopt something like the Rwanda scheme. And so I tweeted out this morning, I mean, just the irony of it. The lefty Ramonas will be going absolutely full tonto this morning.
Hopefully they'll be criticising the European Union in the same way as they will be criticising the UK government. They'll be saying, presumably, we'll get Gary Lineker saying, well, do you know the thing about Germany is it reminds me of 1930s Germany. Will he be saying that before Match of the Day goes out?
Of course he will. But what you've got a situation is the EU is now looking to copy Brexit Britain. Now, we haven't enacted the Rwanda policy, and I've always said that it wouldn't act as a deterrent because the numbers are tiny.
And I have always said it was a good idea.
And
I've always, you're now agreeing with me.
I've always been right on this because it wouldn't act as a deterrent. It's one of those rare occasions where you're wrong, as you well know. But the point is, the EU are adopting our policy of saying you've got to take people away, you've got to take people overseas. That's the reality. If we did it in big numbers, it would work, and I think that's where we might reach some form of compromise.
I think
you've got to do it in big numbers.
You will eventually, Richard, I'm afraid, have to admit that, yes, again, I was right.
No, I'm going to draw you towards my success. Okay. That's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen. Can you also point out to me why it is that the entire Eurozone is now apparently in recession? Apparently it's down to Brexit.
Look, I don't want anybody to be in recession, but the idea that Michel Barnier should look at the whole Eurozone's woeful economic situation and say, we're in recession, who do we blame? Is it our high taxes? Is it our high energy policies? No, it's not at all. Is it our absurd regulations. No, it can't be any of that. It must be the Brits' fault.
Yeah.
It must be the fault of Brexit. You can't make it up.
I know, this guy. He doesn't know which end is up, does he, Barnier? Because at one point when he was running for office in France separately, trying to beat Emmanuel Macron, was he not actually backing Brexit? And now he's blaming it for something that's gone wrong again.
That's right. He suddenly said, I think it was that actually freedom of movement may be a problem.
Yes.
It's just unbelievable.
It really is.